Leaders and managers with meaningful insights on how to optimize business results by aligning their people strategy. Hello, and welcome to the Strategic Alignment Podcast. This program is all about providing leaders and managers with meaningful insights on how to optimize business results by aligning their people strategy to their business strategy. Our goal is to support you as you rise to the challenges of complex decision-making centered around attracting and retaining top talent.
Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? I'm so grateful to be here with you guys for another Strategic Alignment podcast. I'm so happy to have with me none other than Mr. Ronald Acosta, a friend of mine, and he'll be sharing a lot of gems and nuggets with us today as we talk about resilience and how we deal with resilience and how we bounce back regardless of what we're going through. You know, when I looked on his webpage, it said something like this: serving you to equip yourself with tools and strategies for self-awareness, inner strength, and purpose. You know what? I'm going to allow the man himself to tell us a little bit about himself, what he do, and the people's life that he has been impacting positively. The floor is yours, Ronald.
Thank you, Jamie, and I'm glad to be here tonight. My name is Ronald Acosta, and a little about myself and I got to go back where I was born, and I came from Cuba at 2 years old. We left Cuba, went into Costa Rica, and then headed to Florida, and then eventually ended up in New York. One thing that I found out, my father taught me, that as long as you want something really bad, don't let anybody stop you. Don't let somebody tell you can't accomplish anything. We ended up in the ghetto, and I don't want to take too much time on this, and maybe another time I will tell you the whole story, but we ended up in the ghetto, but we didn't stay in the ghetto because my father knew we didn't have to go. We could keep going, moving on. But he always brought us back because he never wanted us to forget where we come from. So that mentality has stuck in my head through my life. I've been a chaplain working at a university for the past 18 years before we decided to head out and open our own business, because we see how important and crucial in life is your mindset. When you hang around with negative people, you become negative. I remember telling some of our students that they have this thread of texts, and they're constantly saying, and they're great when they're sending good stuff. But if they're sitting complaining about the professor or about the test, and this is not fair, all that negative comes into your head and starts messing you up. But this doesn't only apply to students. It applies to you and yourself in your workplace. We had a company call me that a department was moving from the house they were in to a different office. All of a sudden, they loved the place they were in. They didn't want to move, but they saw all the bad and couldn't say. So we got there and we had a meeting with them and said, hey, why don't you look at it this way? It's brought you closer to people that you need to be involved with. The place is not the beautiful place, but it's still a good place. And somebody called you there because they need you there with it. You got to stop me every so often, Jamie. I'll take off.
Nah, whenever you are dropping nuggets or sharing experience, I got to take it. So I'm not going to stop you, because as I said earlier, once I got you on the show, I know that we have to do several parts. So I'm okay with dropping it. But as you're making mention, we have questions we plan for podcasts like this, because we believe that it's adding value and stuff to people and leaders and growing them and moving forward. But at the same time, hearing your story about you coming to this country, living in the ghetto, your father taking you back to that place to show you where you're coming from. And then you started to talk about the mindset in terms of how powerful that is in terms of moving things forward. And how sometimes if who we hang with will impact the way we think. And if our thinking is in a certain place, then that will impact the kind of result and the kind of life that we live. And as you talked about your background as a chaplain working for 18 years in a given area, and now starting out having your own organization in terms of helping people moving forward, it comes back to a positive mindset. And if you want to, I would like for you to dig a little bit more with that positive mindset. I know he may be saying to me, Jamie, that's not the second question on the sheet, but look, I have you. I'm gonna extract everything that we could get out of this session. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, look, here, my brother, when we went to school, and I know things have changed, and yes, there was school at my time. I remember, well, grade school was from kindergarten to sixth grade, and then from seventh grade to ninth grade was junior high, and then 10th to 12th was high school. My brother was told that in sixth grade, when he got in there in school, they put him in special classes, not honor roll special, but special classes. And a teacher told him that, hey, you might as well quit. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make anything out of your life. Well, my brother had a chance, or a choice, I should say. Hey, teacher, you're absolutely right. I should quit and end up at McDonald's or somewhere else. Or don't you stop me, because I know what we can create. And my father and mother always taught us that. Don't let somebody cheat you, because the only person that can cheat you out of life is yourself.
Wow.
So as he was going, about 7 months later, another teacher came to him and says, hey, Ray, you really got this. You can do this. And by the time he got to ninth grade, and I'm proud to say this, because by the time my brother got into ninth grade, he was up in the honor roll session. There's a plaque in his school out there in Long Island still with his picture on it, that he achieved that. So again, we go back to what are we feeding in our minds? You have people that come to work, or if they're coming to school, they smile and all that. We have no idea what's going behind those four walls at their home. So the whole thing is, how do we make somebody valuable? How do we have a choice in the morning when we wake up? We're going to have a great day or a bad day. It's your choice how, and I'm going all over the place, so you got to stop me.
No, that's all. Go ahead.
The power of words. The powers of words are crucial. It can make you or break you, your words. You look at it like this way. Hey, I made a mistake. Instead of saying, hey, I made a mistake, says, mistakes help me learn. Now, you see how you're looking at things. I give up. Instead of saying, I give up, why don't you say, let me try another way? This is too hard. How many times have you said that to yourself? This is too hard. Instead of saying that, hey, this might take me a little effort. So again, the way you use your words and you look at things, we turn it around.
And as you say that about using words and based on where you are, and you have a number of leaders who struggle. For example, as you said, in your field, in your area, there are a number of students and leaders who you work with, and you're able to talk them through what they're going through and allow them to see the positive in what they're going through and be able to bounce back. My question to you, and looking at your life, looking at those who you've worked with, what are some of the major challenges outside of mindset that you think hold us back? What are some of the things that serve as that roadblock that prevent us, whether we're leading up, we're leading down, or we're leading across, that prevents us from making those steps that would take us, like your father, he came to this country as an immigrant, and you guys were in a community that you'd call the ghetto, but yet still you did not finish in that area. What is it? What was different about your father that allowed him and your family to move forward, as opposed to others who believe that this is where we're planted and we'll stay in this position and feel as if they're helpless in terms of moving forward? What are some of those major barriers that cause that?
The major barrier is yourself, because you lose your confidence. It's somebody telling you, oh, you can't achieve this, or you can't do this. let me go straight back a little, I'm going to talk about my dad because my dad's my hero.
Yeah.
But he taught me so much. When he was
Your audio is gone.
sorry,
Yeah, we
he
hear you now.
has five other siblings. Okay, well, his parents, when he was young, his parents passed away. So the two oldest, which was a brother and a sister, gave up their education so they could keep their family together. So the other kids went to school, got an education, but at the same time, how do they survive? So he's out there selling avocados, bananas, all different things to provide to the family. They saved enough money to go and open a restaurant. Restaurant was a very successful restaurant. Castro comes in, takes over. You work for me. Now you know the end of the stories. It's time to go. So when he ended up into this country, he worked at a factory, but he knew he wanted more, and he knew he had to get out of where he was. He didn't have to stick where he was, and sometimes that's our challenge. Sometimes we think, "Oh, I have to stick here because I don't have a choice." You do have a choice. You can turn around and make something out of nothing. So he created a hamburger cart. So Thursday night, let me tell you, Thursday night was, he called it family night. So he would get this huge ball of ground beef, and he would put all his ingredients in there. Grab this huge bowl and put it in the center of the table. And it was me and my two brothers and my mom. We would sit around this table and make little meatballs. So he made this hamburger cart, but he made it because so it could fit specifically into his station wagon, because you had to be able to travel and move that thing. So he got everything together, the diagram, built it, was able to fit it. So on Fridays, well, no, Saturdays and Sunday, he would pack in that hamburger cart into his station wagon. He would drive to Central Park and start selling hamburgers at Central Park. Now, at that time, first, number one, there was hot dog carts around the city, not a hamburger cart. He was the first hamburger cart guy. Second, at that time when he did it, he couldn't sell food in Central Park. You're not allowed. So he would end up getting tickets. At the end of the month, he have a stack of tickets, and he pay off his bills. He pay off all his tickets and go back on. But he did that enough to have enough money to end up buying a restaurant in Queens. He started a restaurant in Queens with nothing. Him and his my uncle started this restaurant. Again, he had choices and all that. I am proud to say that that restaurant has been there for 60 years. There's one in Queens and one in Long Island. It stuck. It stayed in the family. My dad passed away, but my cousin's the one that's running the restaurant. Again, these are the things that you don't have to stay where you're at because this is the way you think. People told you that you can't achieve it. I make fun, not make fun, but I remember at my brother's funeral, I had said so. I told the story about my brother when he was in sixth grade. What a teacher told him. And I said, you can't tell Acosta they can't achieve anything. I'm going to rephrase this, and you can't tell anybody that they can't achieve it. It's how bad you want it. So the mindset is important with a student. My heart breaks for a lot of students because you'd be surprised. They haven't heard somebody tell them, hey, I'm proud of you. Hey, you can do this. So here's a perfect example. If you have a student that comes in and fails the first test, does he come back into the class the following time he takes a test thinking about, I failed the test, I'm not going to make it this time? Again, you got to come with that positive mind. Work wise, listen, you can complain all you want at your job, but you got to stop blaming administration for it. Do something about it. And if you can't do, and if you feel that you've done everything you possibly can, I think the door's closing and it's time for you to find something else.
Mhm.
Because you've got to be happy. And I was meeting with somebody a while back, a customer, and the client tells me, well, they tell me that I could study whatever, and I'll eventually like my job. Why you got to wait till eventually you like your job?
And what I'm hearing you to say too is that taking ownership of your position, taking ownership of what you're going through, accepting that you might have been dealt a bad hand, but not because you've been dealt a bad hand means that you should remain in that position. And when I hear the story of your father and what he went through and the decision that he made in terms of moving himself forward, it means that we all have that very same power. And you talk about educators or leaders in the fact that the same thing should happen when you have people around you, because there are people sometimes they just need a word of encouragement. They need somebody to share with them that you can do this. Dig deeper, look farther. Don't just remain, because sometimes if you just think about your current position, it prevents you from moving forward. And I know you have a lot of experience with people who you have worked with, whereby they were at the brink of jumping off the cliff or at the brink of throwing the towel in. And based on how you connect with them and show them that, guess what? You can bounce back. You don't have to remain there. So I don't know if you want to share any of those interactions that you've had with people who have been on the edge of turning their backs on themselves. And just by helping them to think positively, think about bouncing back, the difference that it caused.
You know, we could be here all night with it because again, we have grown up in a form that the negativity is taking over our lives instead of, hey, I can do this. Because you said I can't do it doesn't mean I can't. To achieve. And I want to go a little with back to the words, the power of words, because the way you treat people. And here I've done gone into a university, and I look around and I tell a student, hey, look around you, because that person in front of you, behind you, or next to you could be your future boss.
Mhm.
So you leave a fingerprints on everybody you come in contact, by the way. So I always tell people, walk with your head up. Acknowledge people. You don't have to have conversation, but you can imagine what a smile when you walk by, how you doing, and all that. So I have taught my own kids, hey, you acknowledge everybody, smile, and talk to them. Power of words. I used to have a student that I used to take it once a month out to eat. And we go into the cafeteria, and one day he goes to me, why do you get more food than I do? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, I order the same thing you do, but you always get more food than I do. I'm like, do you notice what I do every time? He goes, yes, you say hi to the guy, how you doing? And you found out about his family. So you ask him, how's his daughter doing? I'm like, hey, dude, when I'm asking, do you notice while he's talking to me? He's just pouring food in there. And we're talking and he's pouring food. I said, why don't you try that one day? And the next day he went and tried it. He goes, I got more food than you did. So again, the power of words. Another example that I'll use is I walk in. My dad had called me one day and says, "Hey, let's go out to lunch." I'm like, "All right, let's go. I'll pick you up." Picked him up. He wanted to go to Chipotle. He gives me $20, and he says, "Here, I want to pay for it." I'm like, "All right, no problem, Dad." So I take his $20, walk in. As soon as I walk in, I acknowledge the person that is behind. Hey, how you doing? Good. How's your day going? And what do you want? Hey, I'll have a burrito. And they give me that. Go to the next station. Hey, how are you doing? How's your day going? And they I had asked for letters, and she goes, oh, but she gave me guacamole. She goes, oh, you asked for letters. I'm like, don't worry about it. Just stick the guacamole in there and the lettuce too. Then the girl that came to wrap up the thing, the burrito, it breaks and rips, and she goes, oh no. I'm like, oh no, what? She goes, don't worry, you ain't got to start all over again. It's going down my into my stomach. I got to the end of the counter. I look at the lady there, and I said, I have 2 drinks. The manager, I said, how much do I owe? The manager's standing there. She goes, the way you treated my employees, I wish everybody would. Here, she goes, this food's on us. I looked at my dad. I looked at the lady. I said, thank you very much. I told my dad, we got free food, and I made $20, and I grabbed his $20 and put it in my pocket. Again, the power of words and the way we treat each other, because it's not only being with the right mindset and being resilient. It's a package deal.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have the words. You got to have the attitude. All that combined together. A good leader leads his way out of his job.
Mm.
And we can't be afraid to lose our job, that we're not going to have a job. You got to be able to get your employees, let them think out of the box. Let them know that they have the power as well to lead. I used to own a restaurant, and you can come and eat at my restaurant every day. And I can guarantee you wouldn't have any idea who the owner, the manager was. Why? Because everybody there took ownership.
Wow.
They took ownership, and that's a whole thing with a company. You want your employees to take ownership. When COVID hit, and there was a company in New York that the owner of the company says, guys, I gotta give you guys less money. I'm not getting a whole lot myself, and they accepted it. 6 months later, he comes back and says, guys, I can't afford to pay you. And not one of his employees walked out on him.
Wow.
They turned around and looked at him and says, I know you're going to pay us. We're going to stick to it, because nobody had any idea what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But each of those employees took ownership. That says a lot about the president of that company.
Yep.
Because he cared about the people. You got to be black and white. You can't say something and not do something.
Got to follow through.
It's like when we hear, you got to walk the walk and talk the talk, or don't. You can't have one or the other. It doesn't work that way.
Got to do it together. Yep. Mm-hmm. Wow. And you share those stories right there in terms of the positive mindset and using the right words, because the right words are not just what you share with others, but what you share with yourself. Because sometimes what we tell ourselves as leaders, or whichever capacity we're serving in, are the very same words that lead us to that path of not becoming what we could be, or what allows us to stay in the mess or stay in a broken state and not move to a place where we feel comfortable in terms of moving forward. And that's tough. That's hard. But as you make mention of, you talked about your father, you talked about your conversation with those who you work with in your field, and some of your clients, whereby the positive thinking lead them to a place whereby no matter where they are, where they find themselves, they talk themselves to a point that I'm still good as a person and I can still push through. So I'm going to bounce back no matter what it is. And by doing that, they are satisfied, and they won't allow the cheap opinions from others to stop them from getting there. Like your brother could have allowed the first teacher to shape him to being a nobody. But instead, he made a conscious decision to choose the words of the second teacher, who said to him that, look, you're smart enough. You can do this. You can pull through this. And he ended up finishing that school with his name placed on the wall for however long, because of how well he did. I think that's the crux of it in terms of moving forward, bouncing back, being resilient, and taking on challenges. And not because others have failed at it is not a reason for us to give up before even trying it. Not because others did a poor job at leading certain group. It doesn't mean that you're not prepared to do it, or you're not equipped with the skill set to make it happen. But we have to have that mindset that no matter where we are, we're going to push it through. So as Go ahead,
No, no,
Renner.
no. I'm taking. Go. You go.
No, go. I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss anything that you're serving up on the plate.
Zig Ziglar many years ago had a 30-day challenge, and basically, I've been using Zig Ziglar's challenge because it's important because you got to be able to look at yourself and see how valuable you are.
Mhm.
I'll ask somebody. I said, "What do you see when you look in the mirror?" And your self-esteem, you from a 1 to 10, if you're a 1, you need to be a 10. And being a 10, there's a difference of having confidence and cockiness, because I'll knock you right off your pedestal when it comes to cockiness, because nobody wants to hang out with that. But confidence is important. And Zig Ziglar has a 30-day challenge. And I truly believe that the catch of it first is basically you got to read it in front of a mirror. So you got to look at yourself. And then you have to read it out loud. And I tell people, hey, don't do this like yelling or tell. If you live with somebody, let them know you're not going crazy and you're not talking to yourself. But that because you've got to hear yourself with it. So the first 2 weeks is very difficult for people to read because I tell, and when I used to send this to students, and I still even with my own clients, I tell them, I want you to do this for the first 2 weeks is the start. Two things are going to happen. One is you're going to cry because it's difficult to believe the words that are saying because you might not believe it's you, but it is. The second option within those 2 weeks, you'll curse this old man out and say, why is this old man making me read this? Either one you take, I need you to finish it for 30 days. Because, see, when you look in the mirror, you just got to see that valuable. You can't just see, oh, this is Ronald. He's all right and all that. He's fat. He has great. You got to look at him when you look in the mirror. And like I said, there's a difference of cockiness and confidence. But you look in the mirror, you got to say, Dad, what a good looking old man I am. Not cockiness, confidence, because I know I have to be able to achieve what I have in front of me. You know, and again, I know we're probably running out of time. Next time I will share something, a disease that I was diagnosed with. And I had a choice. Do I let it rule over me or do I rule over it?
Mm.
But I'm not going to take your time on that. I apologize for talking so
No,
much.
no apologies. So we got the producers in the background is looking at the calendar to set the next date for us to join to come on. But we because I'm just gonna close off with this place before I bring you back. Say something is that we could choose to allow our position to dictate where we're heading, or we could choose to allow our position to motivate us to get to where we're going. And I think if we think about it like that, regardless of where we are, we're going to say, guess what? How can I use my predicament or my position to advance where I'm going in terms of my purpose? And once we do that, there's nothing that will stop us from bounce back. We may have to pull back, we may have to move to the side for a little bit, but we're still heading forward. It may take us a little bit longer to get there, but we're going to do it. But before we close off, Ronald, I want to ask you something, and you could put that point and then add it to it. Is that tell us a little bit about your what you offer? I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but some of the services that you offer and where people can find you, because I know that there are a lot of teams and organizations now, leadership groups, schools, academia, and stuff like that. They are looking for leaders like you, trainers like you, resilient coaches like you, who are willing to go into organizations, work with teams, and help them to bounce back or to take on challenging moments with a strong and confident mindset and still achieve the goals that they have for their team, for themselves, and for their organization. So if you could share a little bit about what you offer, you and your team offer, and then I see you had a point at the tip of your tongue, so I want you to give me both of those.
I'm going to give you the point. And I know you agree with this. Your why, knowing your why is crucial.
Mhm.
And after knowing your why, it is painting and being able to already picture your dream job or your dream home. And when you have all that, whatever obstacle comes your way, you keep going back to your why and know, hey, this is where I'm going to end up. Uh, you can find us at goyourdirection.com. Our phone number is 407-505-5780, or you can email us at gyd@goyourdirection.com. Our service, mindset transformation, being able to see life through a different lenses, because sometimes our lenses get so fogged up that we can't see clearly. So we go in there and try to clean those lenses and let you see that hope, because hope is crucial. Career development, student performance. I got another story, but I'll hold up on it because
let's go ahead. Go ahead, hit me with it. We have another 3 minutes. Go ahead.
I remember my oldest daughter went away to Tennessee in school her first year of college. She calls me one Sunday morning and she goes, "Dad, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm getting ready to cut the grass." And she goes, "I'll call you back later." But man, let me tell you, Dad knows when something ain't right with their children. I just want you to know that. And I'm like, "No, the grass can wait. You tell me what's going." And as soon as I asked her that question, it was like the floodgates opened up wide and tears started coming down her eyes. She goes, "Dad, I'm taking A&P. I've been studying all weekend. It's kicking my butt. I got a test Monday. And as soon as she finished, I asked her the question, "I need you to do me a favor." She goes, "Yeah, Dad, anything. What?" I said, "I need you to go into registration on Monday. And I need you to drop that class because you failed that class." She goes, "Dad, what are you talking about?" "Oh," I said, "Dad's not talking about nothing. You're the one who told me." I said, "You're the one who told me that it's kicking your butt. You've been studying all weekend. You're already thinking you failed. So why waste the time in class? Drop the class because you failed." She goes, "I get it, Dad. What you're telling me is study as I'm kicking its butt, not me kicking." That's it. Real simple. Real simple. And that, again, here's the confidence that we have to find within ourselves to know that we can accomplish anything and not let somebody take that away from you.
Wow. That's powerful right there. Don't acknowledge what you have in yourself, and don't allow anything or anybody to take that away from you. And no matter what you're going through, go back, and you said, focus on that why. Why is it that I'm here doing what I'm doing? And once we're captivated by that, we'll always go back to that center, that core, and that will give us enough fuel to push us through the tough times. Hey, Acosta, it has been a plum pleasure having you here on Strategic Alignment Podcast. I see, if you're just looking, his company was just running across the screen. Please follow, like, subscribe, and get in touch, because there are a lot of people, a lot of teams, a lot of leaders who are struggling to move themselves and their organizations forward. They're students in the higher learning, and sometimes you need somebody who can guide you and remind you of what you have and give you the tools and the tips to take you to where you need to be. And I'm telling you, Renal Acosta and his team, they have what it takes to offer you the framework and the bridge to take you over troubled waters. Guess what? It's a pleasure having you guys join us to another Strategic Alignment Podcast. And when we're having him back, or when we're having him back with his team, look, we'll definitely let you guys know so you could join us. But hey, Ronald, it has been a plum pleasure having you. Enjoy the evening. And guys, please remember to like and subscribe. And before we go, if you haven't gotten a copy of The Face of Leadership yet, please run onto Amazon, get yourself a copy of the book, The Face of Leadership, and leave a few comments. And I guarantee you, by reading that book too, it will have an impact on your trajectory towards success. Thank you guys very much for joining us, and just stay with us, and any other messages or stuff you'd like to share with us, go through with it at this point. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Strategic Alignment Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to our podcast by visiting our website at www.pottingerandassociatesconsulting.com.